Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. Join us for this all-access pass backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live event industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to incredible guests who journey with us as we dive deep into the world of venues, tours, festivals, and everything in between. Grab your laminate and meet us in Venueland.
Today's episode takes us to Boise for the very first time on Adventures in Venueland. We're going to check in with somebody on the newer side of the business. That's one of the things I love most about Adventures in Venueland is sometimes we're talking to people that have been in the business for 140 years and sometimes a little bit on the newer side. And I always like to see both perspectives. So joining us today is a gentleman we've gotten to know quite a bit at the last couple of EVMC conferences. Please welcome Michael Cullen. He's the Assistant Director, Marketing and Brand Development at Extra Mile Arena. How you doing, Michael?
So good. Loving life, loving the start of summer, not complaining about any of the heat or frustrations of summer yet. So life is good.
All right, let's get in the hot topic right away. Apparently, I've been saying Boise my whole life, and it's Boise. It's like boy and then SEE. There's no Z in Boise.
Yes, there's a big T-shirt hustle to educate folks when you're in downtown Boise. It seems like every other shop is selling some commemorative T-shirt to educate the common folk or the tourists, the visitors, whatever you want to call them. And I do love that Jewel made a song herself, No Z in Boise. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a nice little music video. No connection to Idaho. I think she was just really inspired by the cause.
There you go.
I love that.
Well, tell us a little about Extra Mile Arena for somebody who's never heard of the venue. Give us the basics.
Yeah, about 42 years ago, Boise State decided they needed a basketball arena. I had the honor of doing some deep dives in the archives when it turned 40. So I kind of have had some fun intel of the process of raising money, figuring out a name. I think they were down to Starplex or Coliseum before they totally just threw those papers into the trash bin and came up with the Pavilion.
Kind of like Starplex.
Yeah,
Starplex right? Reminds me of like a mall in the 80s or something.
Right.
Yeah.
It was 1982 is when they opened its doors, and STAR stood for Students Athletic Recreation Complex.
Wow. It's even got an acronym.
Yeah. Really trying to be like a building for students and recreation initially. And also like, this venue thing could, have legs. We've got we've got stripes on our second level that kind of give you, I think 6 laps equals 1 mile. Don't quote me on that. I'm not much of a runner or don't partake in that second level fitness journey. But one previous marketing person did take advantage of that. We like to call ourselves Downtown Arena. We are across the river from a very, very growing and bustling Boise metro area that's had a few surges in population, and I would say in like arts appreciation. COVID and that kind of post 2020 work from anywhere was the most recent surge, but we had quite a few since I would say the bottom of the recession. So Boise looks dramatically different than when I was 15, 16 years old, and I grew up thinking like this is a place that when will it ever get there? And now it's almost growing too fast, but I still love every corner of Boise and really thankful to grow up here.
What's the market look like as far as competition? What's the closest arena to you in Boise? And, is there some theaters and stadiums in the market? What's your kind of lay of the land in that neck of the woods?
Yeah, absolutely. Funny enough, I think within 12 months, 2 arenas were decided to be built in Boise. So I don't know what was in the air in either 1997 or 1998, but development was in the air for sure. They decided to build a downtown hockey arena that is, attached to a hotel and a couple blocks away from maybe the main corridor of Boise. And then I would say 15 miles away in Nampa, Canyon County. They built a really impressive multi-purpose. I don't know the right term for when like horses are involved, but I know there's a really cool term for like
Horse barn? No.
yeah,
No.
multi-purpose. It's built for rodeos, of course, and it's got an amphitheater, and they have a good term for just like all the uses of it. But whether you're looking to see an outdoor show or an arena show, they built something about 26 years ago out in
Like an
Hardy,
equestrian
Nampa
center,
area.
equine center, or
Yes,
something like that.
yes, those are the fancy words I was digging for. Yep.
Not as good as Starplex still, but
No,
you
not a
Not as-
Starplex.
So yeah, we have 3 arenas to choose from. The hockey, maybe 6,000 and under, and then we're really comparable to that one out in Nampa. So theirs is kind of positioned as multi-purpose, a little bit newer, and then we're downtown based and have that connection to the university.
Now, with the connection to the university, obviously, that football field is so iconic on television. For those who haven't seen it, it's the blue field, the Smurf turf, if you will. Is the basketball court that you guys have? Have you guys done anything unusual with that, or you got to go more traditional that route?
Yeah, we left University of Oregon to really go crazy. They're the only basketball court that I feel like is either recognizable or nauseating, depending on your familiarity with
Had
it
my
or your
pick, I'll tell you.
admiration for it.
millions of trees around it. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really touched that side of branding or making it clear where you're watching a game. We installed a new court a couple of years ago that helped with contrast. It was kind of one of my first couple months here, and I was excited for this new court because I was kind of in that same train of thought where it's like, oh man, we're going to make a big splash. I can't wait to see this new design. We spent a good chunk of money on it and they're excited for it and we're babying it. It's going to be this thing that we take really good care of. And then basically the idea was it looks better on TV. So that's kind of an underwhelming thing to hear when you're like, oh, don't you wait. It looks so good on TV. And that has to do with contrast and colors and
Yeah, I get
Sure.
it. I get it.
Yeah.
But we didn't go blue. I believe we have a patent or a trademark, I guess is the right terminology, for having a colored field or a blue, because I know it's always beef when there's a not green field of play for college football.
Wow.
So we take that one pretty seriously, and a lot of blue play on words when it comes to the university marketing and the university foundations, for sure. Out of the blue and blue turf thinking are the most recent ones that they're really advocate for.
When you started there, I guess I should say, what was your role and what are you kind of doing now?
Got hired for the same position, assistant director of marketing and brand development. And, it was a wordy title. I remember showing it to a friend who worked at an arena and he was like, whoa, that's probably 3 jobs that you're looking at there in terms of like job description or responsibilities. I was like, all right, I guess we'll see how this one shakes out. And the initial kind of breadth of the job was do all marketing outside of traditional media. So a little bit of everything, that kind of vague digital media landscape, the grassroots, the community, graphic design thrown in there. And then merchandise was a big responsibility for the marketing department, still is. At that time, it was me and the longtime marketing director and our assistant general manager running the merchandise program at Boise State. And I always get a kick out of that when merch reps are coming through and they like don't really realize that it's like, all right, he's worked here 25 years. She's the assistant general manager. And here I am. We're here to help. We're ready to crush this merch day. But you're talking to some people that are pretty heavily involved or touch a lot of things for the arena. And there we are counting T-shirts and putting boxes back on the trucks at 1 a.m. at the end of the night, kind of saying our goodbyes with the stagehands as the show leaves. So a little bit of merch, a lot of marketing, and then event. Everyone at this arena kind of really prides themselves on event management or being that person that in a pinch, you can be that manager on duty, or whether it's a community or campus event, you can kind of be run the building. And, I explain it to friends where it's like, it's a little bit more than unlocking doors, but that's like also an important part of the job, to be the person who knows where the things are and how to turn on the lights and how to turn off the lights.
You mentioned the campus events. You all get pulled in to do things outside of the arena, like when it comes to other kind of concerts and things like that.
Yeah, we've hosted three three nights of music over at the stadium. Nothing like what Ohio State has. Holy cow! I'm really impressed with the most recent weekend that Dave was involved in.
127,000 people over 2 days. It was fun.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, we've got a modest-sized football field compared to Big Ten, but we did Luke Combs World Tour last year,
Okay.
and then we
Nice.
did our first ever. The person who kind of christened the building or the blue was Garth Brooks, and that was the era of Garth Brooks where he kind of kept it mysterious on those how many nights he was going to play, and he just let
Sure.
it run.
Yes. Those are fun, right?
The governor calls and he says, Garth, can he please add another show in Boise? And they make a big dramatic reveal for those additional nights he would play. So he played two
That's
nights.
so much fun.
And that I think that was a huge effort that at least showed like it's possible. And then Luke Combs in itself was the arena kind of helping in all aspects, our athletics teammates figure out like, okay, how many Zoom meetings, how many walkthroughs, how many site visits elsewhere needs to happen for us to have a world-class event for Luke Combs.
Yeah, and does that set you all up to potentially, do you see more events happening over at the stadium maybe now that you've kind of got your bearings a bit from Luke Combs?
Yeah, we get holds, and there's always a little bit of buzz about it. And I think the region really embraces it. Like not even just the state of Idaho. I think that because the blue is kind of a unique attraction, and depending on the rankings, the USA Today is one of the biggest attractions of college football. It's it's got a strong potential. The
Sure.
putting over the protective floor over the blue kind of takes away a little bit of the mystique, but people can still really feel it, or at least check out our Hall of Fame and kind of learn more about the history of Boise State athletics.
It's such a obviously iconic field and very neat. How did you enjoy doing, stadiums fun versus the arena fun? A lot more walking, right?
Oh man, I would say that is close to a 20-hour day. We put in so many hours previously before show day to set the merch operation up for success. When it came to marketing, it's helping AEG do some buys, and Luke Combs kind of sold himself when it came to that on sale and the activity first week. But when it came to week of show, it was us building from scratch a merch operation that, I think broke $1 million, safe to say, or was just under. And it was a huge effort that I believe, a couple days of us pre-producing it and then showing up at 6 a.m. and leaving at 4 a.m. So it was about a 20 hour plus day, just managing the beast of t-shirts, koozies, and whatever the heck we were selling that day. Country shows usually like to put a good 30 or 40 items, which can be a bit of a backbreaker in the organization aspect of it all.
Sure.
You mentioned the 40th anniversary. And I know that many of us in this industry are tasked with, oh, hey, it's our anniversary. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So you mentioned digging through the archives. What kind of fun did you guys come up with?
I was really delighted to find an artist that had like a very specific perspective on not only the building, but Boise, the state. His name's Ward Hooper, and he had this cool experience of he was at the dorm next door when the building was opened. So 1982, he's a freshman. He had that, the first couple of concerts where it's just such a big deal for him. And then 15 years later, he's this hardworking artist that still needs to get a steady paycheck. So he was actually part of our guest services team. He was security staff and used the arena as a way to have a income stream come in regularly. And I discovered that, and I was like, oh, and he does amazing postcards, posters, really like deco. I don't know the right word to prefix deco, but this very specific 50s, 60s flair of art. And he did a beautiful building that kind of captured all the different ways that the memories associated and the specific recognizable things that the arena provides or hosts And he's just a really talented artist that has worked with the Foo Fighters and some other big bands on signature posters. So it was really fun to work with him and come up with something really unique and tell stories like his, where it's like, all right, there's people all over Boise that have these unique connections to the arena. And I think he was security for a Fish show that I was really excited to talk about, because it's like one of their famous recordings, and it's a good like archive clip to throw on. And he absolutely hated working that show as security. So it was really fun to get his perspective on what it's like to work a 1999 Fish show in the arena.
Yeah, what are some of the legendary shows that the arena's had? I mean, over 40 years. I know, having worked at a building that is over 40 years, you go back and you're like, man, like some of it's like, I wish I was there in certain years. I'm like, what the heck? They had Prince and Aerosmith and blah blah blah, and it was all in like 1 week or something. You're like, what in the world? Like what are some of these kind of legendary shows that you discovered through the archives?
Man, the one that is like infamous in the sense of like, when I can find people that worked the show, they just have nothing good to say about it, but it just sounded like such a time and place of the 90s, is Nirvana comes through the arena and they looked through the lower bowl and they challenged the lower bowl and anyone else that they could see with a seat to rush the floor. They said, "We want you on the floor."
Oh no.
And so Kurt Cobain begging for all his fans to get closer, and just some big gulps from the rest of the staff that
just like,
yeah. So they're not big Nirvana fans. The staff that are from those early 90s, they're just like, yeah, that was the worst. And I just want more details. I'm like, oh man, so like, what was it like? And there's kind of in that same era, not at the arena, but one that's just like always worth shouting. Because as a kid, when I would hear the details, I didn't believe it. And I was like, you got to prove it. Like, I need photos. I need like a primary source on this. Was in that, I would say within the same 2 or 3 years, Rage Against the Machine did their first ever prison show. So a penitentiary that closed down, Rage Against the Machine decided to play a full concert within the prison walls of this old Idaho penitentiary, just a few miles away from our campus, and where we actually throw a summer concert series just on the other side of the walls, because we don't believe in the same aesthetic of you should throw it in the 150-year-old old penitentiary, but they have a nice grassy area that we call Outlaw Field, where the prisoners, I don't know if that's the right way to describe them, the folks locked up would play some recreational baseball. And so Rage Against the Machine, for the first time ever, played in that old pen. And then it went off so well that they asked the promoter, and now I got the full story from this promoter sharing it, that they wanted to book a full tour based off of that concept in Idaho. So I thought that was pretty cool, that this hard to believe thing that happened was actually close to being the concept of Rage Against the Machine's next tour.
So cool.
Sure. That is very cool.
Obviously, you're on the newer side of the business, but you seem like you've really invested a lot of yourself into it. What is it that you love about working in this live event industry?
It's something, I've always wanted to break through the window or shatter the ceiling, pick the lock, whatever, to get into the business of live events and venues specifically. I was really lucky to kind of find people that would allow me to work events in college. And that kind of started with just doing office work and driving around, some kind of being a runner for a Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival, and calling myself a marketing intern, but really doing everything but the sense of marketing and hospitality, I would say. And then talking to those people, that we had some pretty impressive contractors that were big deals. The production manager at Crystal Ballroom, which if anyone's been to Portland, it's just like kind of one of those stellar reputation rooms that's been around forever and ever. And really explaining like what it is to work in the industry. And, sometimes at that age, you get as much warnings as you do encouragements, right? They're like, I don't know
So
if you want to sit in this chair in 20 years, but it really excited me. And I got to book shows through our student involvement board, and, pay artists the big bucks that I thought were going to be total hits. And we had a total run of successful student shows. During that time, I kind of learned one of the hardest things to to promote is a free show, because people think the value or the attractiveness is next to nothing because it's a free show. But we had two artists that are very much in like the genre that I adored at the time. This is like 2013 and 14. We had Odessa, who is now, arena act, up these huge finale shows. We had them in a 100-year-old basketball gymnasium that we called the Memorial Gym on University of Idaho campus, and be able to kind of program and brand this little festival in a 100-year-old building was really, really fun, and showed me that I could do it, but that it's way harder, that it takes a mindset that you're not just this one thing. You are going to do a little bit of everything, and it's about taking a swing at it, and that you learn something new every single time. So fast forward, if that was 2014, fast forward 10 years, hey, that makes it easy. I'm here at the arena, and I can really thank a local festival that has kind of become a Northwest version of South by Southwest, Treefort Music Fest. Very much think South by Southwest plopped into the downtown Boise. It's 30 venues, 500 artists, hack fort, yoga fort, food fort, ale fort, a kind of sub festival niche, whatever you want to call it, of whatever your interest might be, and being able to work that and put on this huge multi-day festival in every non-traditional venue you can imagine really kind of fed me while I was working in hospitality and education and doing things year round that may not have been 8 to 5 working on music or working in the entertainment business, but it gave me something to look forward to and kind of grow my skills and definitely my network.
Is something like music, is that something that's always been like a passion of yours? Is that been since you were a little kid? Like I remember when we did the live podcast with Joe from Bumbershoot, and you had this old t-shirt, and I feel like I've just seen you wear some other, festival shirts and things like that. Have you been kind of a festival concert rat since you were a little kid, or, how did that come about? Like what made you want to get into this industry, maybe even pre-college?
Yeah, no, I think that actually describes it pretty well. I think I grew up in a resurgence of like the American Music Festival was kind of this like sweet spot from my like late teens and early 20s. Bumbershoot was one of the more accessible festivals for us, living in North Idaho, maybe 6 hours away. And Bumbershoot was just such a cool, family friendly, but also like wildly like bizarre, that kind of Northwest flavor that's kind of hard to explain unless you've been there. And you guys have been to Seattle, where it's, it's tattoos, dogs, and everything else, So Bumbershoot was super, super influential for me. Living close to the gorge when you're up there in North Idaho was tremendous.
There's a bucket list of mine for sure. I will make it up there.
The Sasquatch Music Festival was a thing at the gorge that was Memorial Day weekend for maybe 12 years, a little bit longer than 10. I've got a few posters in my house, so I should know better. My favorite poster is this Esurance Presents Sasquatch Festival, which the corporate sponsors takes up like 80% of the space. But that was the first year I had attended. And then I was able to attend the last year, and I kind of knew it was the last year because I could kind of read the tea leaves or whatever wise adage you want to use. And it was really, really special to see that final year. And I could kind of tell the booker really influenced my music taste. And it was really a goal of mine. I believe he attended Treefort Music Fest this last spring, and I know his daughter's a big fan of it. And I was really looking forward to shake his hand and maybe embarrass him a little bit with that. Like you never know like how influential just like picking these bands and putting them on stages can be. And for me, like it was like a radically, new perspective, new appreciation that you're just this small, narrow field of vision for like music and arts as a teenager. And then you attend one of those diverse festival offerings, and you're like, wow, I really like this Eastern Asian rock band, and I really like this hip hop artist from Canada. And, you kind of totally open yourself up to new things. And it's not just top 40 or what your dad's CDs in the truck are playing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I still love the Eagles, but yeah, if it was up to my dad, that's probably what would be still in my car stereo.
So, obviously you had a lot of experience prior to this first job, but you had a lot of things right out of college, even during college, where you were interning, volunteering, doing some short-term jobs. Is that something you'd recommend to people looking to break into the industry? And what did you carry from that that you still use today?
Yeah, it's a real blessing to work on a college campus because I get to talk to some of these students, almost weekly, where somebody's telling me their grand plan or looking forward to this day or this time or this dream, and I can just kind of reflect and say like where my mind was at and what I appreciated or where I failed. And I remember wanting to get my degree as soon as possible so I could get big paychecks and live my dream and just like, hit the road running. And that's something that I often tell students, that if you have the community or the kind of ability to do meaningful things on campus, don't rush out of there. Do your best and kind of fulfill it to the fullest potential, because oftentimes you're not going to be given as much opportunity right out of the gate, 21, 22 years old. The things that you can bring to that college campus is almost limitless. Connecting the dots, kind of being that student voice for these large institutions or these big organizations, and making a big impact that can teach you a whole lot and probably get you a job a lot faster than just rushing off to maybe a more traditional internship in a big city, or just that the piece of paper isn't the final goal on a college campus. Or at least if you have the mindset that the diploma isn't the most valuable thing that you're leaving with, then you're going to be better off for it. And that I like to describe the University of Idaho opportunities as like every door was open for me. All I had to do was kind of walk in there and be like, I really like what you guys are doing. Can I start next week? Or like, what would it look like? What would it look like?
Yeah.
Like 10 hour, you kind of just start the conversation on what your skills are, or kind of what you admire about, their organization. And they typically find you a chair in the space, and you can show up at a regular time and, do something for them.
It's so true, and I think it's hard to have that perspective when you're in school, because everyone's kind of out of high school and they're like ready to be an adult, and they have this vision of what they think that looks like and this freedom that they think comes with that. And in reality, like you said, there is a lot of excitement around that, but when you're in college, there's a lot of opportunities there. And this is not pushing college, but while you're in it, like there are so many things that are really there for the taking that it's a lot harder to get to whenever you're out in like the general workforce. And sometimes they're looking for people to help them. You'll have like a student activities board and they want volunteers, and all you have to say is like, yeah, I want to work. And all of a sudden you're working some concerts that are some of maybe your favorite artists. And then you'll look back on that time and be like, wow, that was an experience where all of a sudden you get out in the general workforce and you're competing against all these other people. And, it's hard to have that perspective, but I think it's really important that you are, telling people that way they can hopefully appreciate, really what is offered to them while they're there, and it, and seeing the value in taking advantage of that, because like you said, it can lead to getting recognized or getting a job, and sometimes a lot easier than just having it on your resume and jumping to the next step and saying, here I did this, but who's going to offer me a job.
Yeah, I see that experience with the VMC interns. I'm like so much more interested in like being vulnerable with my story or what my own like perspective with them, because they kind of have that secret password of they're like, hey, I'm an EVMC intern. Like I'm going to give them a little bit more time. And honestly, I'm probably going to be a little bit more vulnerable with them, where it's like, hey, ask me any question you have about work or just like next steps, because I totally know that feeling. And once the student title or the intern title kind of evaporates, you're another person that's probably just as qualified as 100 other people to pursue the passion or the dream that you're looking at.
So true.
When we talk about, your experience, talk about that first, kind of big time job out of college, right? So was that your job with the Discovery Center of Idaho?
That was my first salary job. That's how and I loved that. That was a place that, I got lucky that I was like in the mindset 16 years old where I needed to be this like qualified, well-rounded person, because, the sky was the limit. And so I loved volunteering there as a teenager, I should say. And we did a lot of like by kids, for kids kind of programs where it's teenagers teaching younger kids how to make rubber band cars and popsicle stick towers. And I mean, it was the greatest little reason to get an internship when I was 16. But I did have a slew of other, contract jobs before coming back to Boise that kind of taught me why I want to live in Boise for a good stretch, and were pretty influential. I worked at an ad agency, Wong Duty, in LA, that I kind of like picked out in my senior coursework as like your dream agency to work at. And then I took a phone interview in my car as I was deep cleaning my college house, just like probably high off fumes and every cleaning chemical known to man. I, took 10 minutes to talk to them over the phone, and they offered me a 2-week trial at the agency and from Moscow, Idaho to LA. So I took a plane, got some bizarre housing situation after knocking on 3 different doors. I found the most correct fit to make it to the 2 weeks and not lose my wits while I was in LA. And I think after like the first or second day, they're like, yeah. You got a 6-month contract. I was like, okay, that feels a little bit better than a 2-week job opportunity.
Yeah.
But working in LA, I had a bicycle. I was like really close. It was kind of a unique way to see the city, and I really enjoyed that. But talking to everybody else, it's like, I'm like some people's worst nightmare of a coworker, because I'm just like chatty and involved, or at least like really curious. So I'm like, for some people, that's like worst possible scenario. But you do get to know the people, and you figure out who is, also like wanting to connect during work hours. And there was a lot of people that had struggles or lives that I was just like, man, I don't think I want to sit in that chair in 10 years. That's the hustle and bustle is appealing. And like, I think LA is a beautiful place to visit and live, but the realities of family, it seemed challenging and daunting to me, that I knew some of the people I had gotten to know in Boise the last 5-6 years were doing such amazing things. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to go to LA to get the title or the prestige or the logo on my t-shirt that will make me feel like I've made it. I think I can find something in Boise that gives me just as much worthwhile passion for life.
That's a big realization. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with. I had a good friend. He always wanted to work I just got to get to Chicago. I got to get to the major market. And then he realized once he got there, he's like, oh, wait, I'm doing the same thing I was doing, except I'm paying a lot more for rent. No knock on Chicago, but he just realized the city's not going to give you your happiness, whatever city it is. Maybe that's the city you love, and that's where you go. But moving to a new place or a bigger city isn't going to cure your problems. There's the great Adam Sandler SNL bit where he's a vacation. I don't know, what do they call a vacation planner? He's like, if you're sad at home, you're going to be sad in Italy. Just know that being in Italy doesn't make you happier.
Hey, Italy and Chicago both have amazing food. I feel like that's
100%. I'd be happy.
I could cheer myself up if I'm eating out in Chicago or Italy.
Hey, tell us a little bit what you do with Treefort Music Fest.
Yeah, I've got a fun little canned response always to explain it to people, because Treefort is confusing. You guys are familiar with South by Southwest, so you kind of understand that it's a little bit of everything, and it's just this like takeover of a city. My role is the ranger station director, and we're really kind of a remedy or a solution to that problem of like, what the heck is Treefort and how do I participate? I describe it as a Wes Anderson inspired help desk. So think A-frame, think folks in funny hats and vests and patches and a campfire and all sorts of little charming vintage decor to set up our station. And then we're really just there to simplify the festival experience. If somebody wants recommendations for thrash metal, we, circle or write down the artist they would like to see from the genre that they're interested in. If somebody has a kiddo that's a certain age and wants to go to as many venues as possible and, doesn't know which ones are 18 and up and 21 and up, we can help them there. But we're basically an activation of like welcoming people that I staff, and I kind of give them some knowledge and some resources, and we're basically just the most enthusiastic representatives of Treefort as possible. And I see it more and more in airports. I see the ranger stations in these airports that I travel to, meaning helpful people with funny vests or funny hats that are there to, explain where the bathrooms are or where the Ubers pick you up from. And very, very similar, that we're really just like an information center that's right there outside of the main stage. And
You've been doing this for what, almost 9 years now?
yeah, they came back from Coachella. The festival organizers were really involved with Built to Spill. Built to Spill, famously a Boise band that kind of influenced Pacific Northwest music, and they got to play some awesome Coachella slot. And the organizers were there, kind of as like tour managers and support. And I think Coachella at that time had this lemonade stand that was supposed to have that same sort of interface where it's like, hey,
That's funny.
where is the bathrooms? And, or I'm vegan. Is there anything I can eat in this concession
It's
line?
like a information booth, but like instead of just the boring people that you feel like you're bothering by asking the questions, it's like this themed engagement, right? It's
Exactly. Yeah. We get to take photos with a lot of people, and it's cold in Boise in March. It's really unpredictable weather, and us just having a campfire like is a really big game changer of like welcoming people. And people will be like, is it free? Can I sit down? And it's like, yeah, eat your corn dog right here next to the fire. Like come enjoy yourself. Yeah, it's been a really fun way to experience the festival. They came back and they're like, we got to do this, and you got to be the guy that leads it. Like, this is so right up your alley. And I was really honored that like they kind of connected the dots, that I just have a natural enthusiasm and love connecting with people. And I was like, you are right. I really should take this and run with it. Sold. So previous to that, I would be like, just be shadowing their executive director or a venue manager, doing different roles where I'm kind of more like learning the ins and outs. And then they sliced something out for me where it's like, okay, this is really meaningful and a really fun way to add to the festival experience.
Do you have different costumes each year? What kind of, do you have control over that? Or is it like the festival's kind of like, here's what we want you to do? Like how much, I don't know, how much ground do they give to you to kind of be creative?
I like the idea of maybe having themed nights. I mean, where we could be like outer space night or anything like that. Think rangers that you would see at like a national forest, and a little bit of Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts with our vests. We're able to kind of swag out the different patches of the festival. So you have just, I would say 12 years. COVID always throws me off on timing of things when they're, gosh, but I would say since 2012, the festival has been going, and we have all these, we work close with the apparel and merchandise person to do a really cool showcase of patches and different swag for our volunteers. And
so cool.
Most people have been doing it for 5-6 years. There's a decent amount of folks that have been rangers since day one. So it's a really fun thing that people look forward to every year.
Earlier we talked about what you love most, as someone who's newer to the business, what you love most. But what is it, if you could change something, you get a magic a wand, what is it you would change about this industry if you had the chance?
Now, keep in mind, we only have a certain amount of time. So,
Yeah. I would say, initially I thought the overlap of booking, programming, marketing, like it doesn't seem like tours are in the business these days of that much creative, I don't want to say routing, but even programming, where maybe you can call them one-off shows, you could call them mini runs. I just don't see a lot of artists doing some like really unique things. Instead, they want to copy and paste it across the United States, or they want to focus on efficiency and they want to, use their resources wisely. I know the building that I am always jealous of, Kia Forum, is always doing these one-offs that will be like 10-year anniversary of this album, 10-year anniversary of this record label, the pop out with Kendrick Lamar. Like they're always doing these things that are just like bottling magic of like communities and fan bases. And I'm so jealous that, in Boise, Idaho, we don't exactly have it that easy to where we're going to do this one night only, world-class,
Built to Spill.
Yeah.
I'll be up there with my high school t-shirts on. I was a Built to Spill fan back in the day, and do your one night only Built to Spill.
Heck yeah. We'll do it. I think it is becoming, I'm really excited by the concept of artists doing festival appearances off specific albums. I think that is like such a music nerd thing, but I know Built to Spill has been booked to play certain albums and featured as, we're going to play this front to back. And that's such a cool thing. I think Violent Femmes are doing that at our outdoor amphitheater, where they're playing 2 albums front to back, intermission in between. And that's the type of creative programming that I think that I am just like, oh man, this is so cool. Like, it's really, what you're getting, but almost in a really exciting way, because it's so specific, and it's for people that love this 1985 Violent Femmes debut album.
That's a great album. I'm telling you, that's a great album. I was looking at your website and I was like, oh, I want to go to that show.
I agree. I think those are super fun. Like, I love, and I know obviously Columbus did this with 21 Pilots, and Jack Harlow did a big run of this in Kentucky, where I love those runs where they kind of visit all the venue sizes and create these really like unique kind of experiences, to where you can tell they are doing some fan service, but that's a good thing. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but doing some shows here or there that are one-off, instead of like just the copy paste tour where we know we're going to go here every 2 years and then we're going to go to the next city. It's like, that they're going to do that. I love that kind of fan service moment that's really, kept their careers going.
We had a show that captured a lot of excitement for our arena, and they did probably 5 or 6 stops together, but it was Cody Jinks and Turnpike Troubadours, and it was just like, it was a pairing, and you couldn't see it everywhere. They did a show in Boston, 3 shows in the Northwest, and then maybe 1 other stop. I was wearing the t-shirt yesterday. I could have just turned around, but very, very limited run. And I just thought, I saw people traveling from all over the place to come catch it in Boise. And I thought that was really cool. I'm really into double headliners in general. I just think that is also really fun when you alternate thing, where you never know who's going to close down the night. Is kind of exciting. Like, all sorts of little wrinkles that I appreciate.
Yeah.
We've talked quite a bit about, your love of music and all your volunteer work, but what do you do when you're away from work? What do you do that's just for you?
This is the month of weddings for my partner and I. We've been together 5 years. We're attending a couple of weddings, and we're not yet engaged, but we're sure every question from every wedding attendee is, when is our wedding? So that will be around the corner for us before that it's about that time. And I'm really excited for that. We've got 3 cats at home, Frankie, Louie, Bernie. They keep us busy. They're good names. Then we have a Shiba Inu named Kona that's turning 11 a little bit later this year. That's kind of an elderly, sweet dog that absolutely is conflicted about us having 3 cats in our home. But yeah, she loves plants, and then I love geeky AV, smart home. I'm like I love tinkering with that kind of stuff. So it's a good yin and yang there, where we have an unimaginable amount of plants in our home and a beautiful yard and really cool garden. And then I have every dorky automation or AV thing that I guess that is attainable, not the high class Macintosh, whatever they call those amazing stereos that look super futuristic. But I have fun with the technology and trying to really make our home a very, very peaceful place with all the bells and whistles.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, before we let you go, as I'm sure you know very well, we want to hit you with our fast 5. It's 5 quick questions, just looking for your short, immediate response. First up, do you remember your very first concert?
Yeah, it was at the arena down the street that we described as the Horseplex, the multi-purpose Ford Idaho Center. Backstreet Boys. I think I was in 5th grade, and I remember when they played off Larger Than Life on TRL, and that was a core memory for me, having Carson Daly saying, "This is the last time you're going to hear this song on TRL." And I was just like,
it was such a big deal. It's hard to explain what a big deal TRL was. You either know it, or you either lived through it, or you have no idea. All right. How about you have an all-time favorite concert?
Yeah. I was trying to think of like large scale in a sense. For arena shows, Odessa doing their return was really, really special. I love being able to see bands that I've known for almost 10 years kind of reach that stage of like, holy cow, this is like the top of the industry, or this is like such a large scale show that I've watched evolve. But a surprising show, Janelle Monáe. I absolutely adore her, and seeing her put together choreography, music, costuming, it was something else. That's another show that really stands out.
We had her at our theater earlier this year, and it was amazing. She is just great live act.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite thing to do on a day off?
No, this time of year, we've got a nice little rooftop tent, and Idaho is very generous with the public lands, the free camping sites.net way of camping. So whether you have a reservation a few months ahead of time, which it is competitive for a lot of our beautiful areas, or just camping off a dirt road, that freecampsites.net provides. Really fun to take the dog out and get dirty and just eat some hot dogs out in the dirt.
What's the last good TV show you binged?
Oh man, I have a calendar appointment today for The Bear. I'm checking it now. 7 p.m. I believe Mountain Time. The Bear is the show I'm most anticipating to binge tonight. I'll stick with The Bear, but I know I'm a big fan of pop culture in general, so I'm sure I'll have a better answer. Maybe to comment on your social post.
There you go. The Bear is a winner, though. That's a good one. Last question for you. You get your own TV show all about your life. Cameras follow you around. What's the theme song to the Michael Cullen show?
Ooh, I'm glad I didn't give this one a whole lot of thought prior, because I avoided the end of your podcast to have any hints on these Fast Five. Theme song. Ooh, I love a good movie soundtrack, and I love John Carpenter. Let's see, but I don't think any of his scores really make a lot of sense here. I'm gonna go with maybe some Hall and Oates or something 80s. I'm gonna go Come On Irene. I don't know why, it's my wedding request song of choice. And I don't know, it's more of the energy of the song, less the lyrics.
Sure.
And it's one of those songs
I can't hear it without thinking of the movie Tommy Boy and them singing along in the car. That is a core memory for me. It's just them singing along karaoke in the car.
That's an all-time classic. There you go. Hey, Michael, if anybody wants to reach out to you to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, or what do you want to plug? Any websites, socials for your venues?
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn for sure. You should see the spelling in the podcast or the social post. And something to plug this summer. I would say just open your mind to Boise. Book a flight, whether you're visiting. If you're booking shows, hit us up. But really, such a nice place to visit for 2 days. It has a little bit of a curse right now where people are mean or hostile to folks that visiting because they assume they're going to purchase a home and create more of a rapid surge. And so people get a little suspicious and want to know when you're leaving. When you do arrive here and enjoy the beautiful city, they want to confirm that you have a departure flight out of Boise Airport. But once you get through that tension, they will treat you really, really nice. And it is 4 seasons. There's recreation within 30 minutes every direction. And it's really affordable city to visit.
Well, we really appreciate your time and sharing with us, and it's been great getting to know you the last couple of years at EVMC, and look forward to many adventures to come. Yeah,
thank you for the flannel. I got to shout out just the EAMC at that time. You really welcomed me, Dave, with the planner flannel, and if anyone's listening to this podcast and is thinking, oh man, I don't know if this conference is right for me or my stage of my career, or worried about going solo. My first year attending was so transformational. The people, the stimulation in all the ways, the core memory of the Minnesota Vikings, US Bank Stadium, having the fake snow and the excitement of day one sort of feel of that conference in Minneapolis, that you should all be chasing EVMC and making sure that you make the next one, because it is so much fun and some of the longest days and nights of your life, and you'll thank yourself for it.
Atlanta, baby, we'll be here before we know it.
Paul and I fully agree.
Yeah. We've already drunk the Kool-Aid long ago.
On that note, we'll wrap things up. Hey, a big thanks to everybody for listening to this episode of Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We do love your 5-star reviews. It helps others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, there's no Z in Boise.
That's true. That's good.
Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Venue Marketing Conference, a marketing conference that brings together diversified event and venue professionals to cultivate education, collaboration, and innovation for the growing sports and live entertainment industry. Find out more at eventvenuemarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.